Okay, so welcome back, Elaine. Nice to see you again for first time in a few days. So done our expression session. Let's dive into today's quote. We'll start with that, a bit of teaching around that, which will lead us nicely into today's lesson, which is all about it's a review lesson with the central theme of God being love, and therefore so are we. So let me share my screen with you if we can start off with the quote, if you can read that for us. There's a quote from Book of John. So yeah, if you can read that quote from 1 John, which is one of the most famous quotes in the whole Bible, actually.
Okay. We know how much God loves us, and we have put our trust in His love. God is love, and all who live in love live in God, and God lives in them.
Lovely quote. So God is love, which is absolute truth. Written by the one of Yeshua's disciples, John. Speaking of the greatest form of love, which is called agape or divine love. This is a love that's unconditional, which means that it's given irrespective of a person's personality, their worldly role, what they've done or not done in this world. There are no conditions to it. It's just given completely freely without condition. That's why it's unconditional love. So therefore, it's not special in any way. And it denies the specialness that the ego or belief in separation wants to make in a relationship and situation to confirm the illusion of its separate identity. Instead, it perceives that the person or people in the situation are really one and the same as you, because the same life essence gives everyone life. So the way to induce this perception and feel the unconditional love that inevitably comes from it is simple. Just let go of every thought and emotion that blocks your awareness of it. And these are the blocks to the awareness of love's presence that Yeshua mentions in the introduction to the ACIM text. Sin, guilt, fear, anger, sadness, and any other thought or emotion that negates, and negates means to deny unconditional love. Those are the things that stand between you and the blissful awareness of this perfect love. The question is, why would you resist this experience? Only because you value a special ego identity over the experience of divine or unconditional love. And usually that plays out as special relationships. So I value the special relationship over divine love, and the special relationship engenders sin, guilt, fear, anger, sadness, and so on. And so then it seems that these things are real to me. The special relationship becomes the mechanism that the ego uses to substitute special love and all of its negative consequences, sin, guilt, fear, anger, sadness, and really the ego's whole range of negative emotions for divine or unconditional love, which is why Yeshua spent so much time teaching us about special relationships and how to become aware of them and let them go and transform them into holy relationships, which are relationships dedicated to unconditional love. So that's a simple choice we all got to make in the end. Forgiveness or letting go of all the blocks to the awareness of love's presence that show up in response to people and events that come into our lives to trigger them is the way we make this choice. So how do you change your relationships from special to holy? You forgive, or in Art of Letting Go terms, you let go of all these blocks as they arise. So that means that you let go of any negative thought and emotion as it arises in response to the person whom you're relating to. And then it becomes quite simple. It's quite straightforward. You don't really forgive them. You just let go of the negative thoughts and emotions that they trigger to arise in you. So the theory is simple, but as we discussed in our discussion, it requires diligent practice and perseverance because our egos resist letting go of these blocks for dear life, because these blocks are their life. Without those blocks, the ego would have no existence. It exists in and through those negative thoughts and emotions. It's made up of them. So if you're not thinking those thoughts and feeling those emotions anymore, the ego simply doesn't exist. You would remain in a state of blissful, pure, formless awareness of perfect love forever. So because it requires this diligent practice to let go of the blocks, Yeshua's given us daily mind training lessons to help us to practice letting go of negativity as it arises daily and experience the love, peace, happiness, gratitude, and other great gifts that such radical forgiveness or letting go brings. And that brings us to today's session. So here we are in our discussion session. And today's lesson is a review lesson. So we're reviewing 2 of the previous original lessons, which we'll do. But first there's an introduction, which I think we probably have time for. So let's look at the introduction and then we'll practice the lesson. And we'll probably leave it at that for today because it's quite a late session. All right, so there's the introduction to the review. So I think just read it in the alternative when that's appropriate. So it's on length, you can read that. Paragraph 1, please.
Oops, this new one there it's very small. I can't seem to pinch it open.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, that's interesting. Normally you can sort of...
Shall I make it a bit bigger?
Yeah, that's interesting.
You can't blow it up.
Yeah, normally I can, but this one I can't.
Yeah.
Strange.
Yeah. Very strange.
Because it's just in a small box, in a tiny little box.
Okay. Well, let's. I can increase it for you.
Let's have
a zoom to 50%. Is that okay?
Oops, now that's huge. Just a second.
Okay.
That's better. Yeah, I've just found another little option, so I can.
Right.
Yeah.
You can adjust it.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. I now review again. This time I am ready to give more effort and time to what I undertake. I recognize I'm preparing for another phase of understanding. I want to take this step completely so that I may go on again more certain, more sincere, and with greater faith. My steps have sometimes been wavering, and doubts have made me walk uncertainly and slowly on the road this course sets forth. But now I hasten on, for I approach a greater certainty, firmer purpose, and a surer goal. Yeah, that's just what I needed to hear.
That's how the course works, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's just, I like these reviews because these introductions to reviews, because he's just giving us some coaching. He's kind of saying, okay, so let's just pause a bit from the actual, lessons and where are we in this process, and gives us some encouragement to say, okay, so it's not that you have not wavered, you've had your doubts, but I understand that now. Pick yourself up, come with me, hasten on, for you're approaching a greater certainty, a firmer purpose, and a surer goal. So as we progress in the course, our own conviction, our own certainty that this is actually the truth, this is the right path. In fact, this is, as you go deeper into it, you realize it's the only way. It's the only way to live your life. and
It is.
to approach life. And that's what he means by greater certainty, a firmer purpose, and a surer goal. You're no longer vacillating and going, well, maybe the ego is an option. Maybe I'll find another way. You start to realize this is it. There is no other way
Yeah.
than
Yes.
this. That's what he's referring to here by a greater certainty, firmer purpose, and surer goal. Okay, and then he goes into a prayer. So this is in the first person anyway. Just read it in the first person. In the alternative, the only translation is Father becomes source.
Yeah. Steady my feet, my source. Let my doubts be quiet, and my wholly aware mind be still and speak to me. I have no words to give to you. I want only to listen. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a throat there. To listen to your message and make it mine. Lead my practicing as Father leads a little child along a way they do not understand. Yet the child does follow, sure that they are safe because their Father leads the way for them.
Okay, thoughts on that?
Well, we're getting a bit more steady on our feet towards the source. So we're going to try and quieten these doubts and allow the holy mind to be still and let it speak to us like our Father would guide his little child along the way.
Yeah.
The
So this
child,
is prayer. A prayer is really just calling on this higher awareness within you. That's all it is. It's a direct call on this higher awareness to guide you, to come more into your awareness and guide your thoughts, your words, and your actions. And our mind follows that guidance as a son would or a child would follow a father, because we trust that this presence knows the way. Just like when you're a child, you trust your
parents.
parents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if they're decent parents, you do trust them.
Yeah.
And even if they're not, children still, they will still trust them because the parent seems to know the way. So just using that analogy to help us to understand, the level of dependence on our source. But it's not something external to you. It's your own awareness. It's just starting to turn to that awareness instead of the ego's awareness of separation and being a separate self. And the prayer calls upon that awareness directly, which is why it's powerful. So it's not like prayer in the sense of I'm praying to something external to me to save me. It's I'm asking my higher awareness to come more into my awareness and be more present in my life and guide me. Okay, we're going to move on to number 3, which continues the prayer.
Yeah. So do I bring my practicing to you, and if I stumble, you will raise me up. If I forget the way, I count upon your sure remembering. Excuse me. I wander off, but you will not forget to call me back. Quicken my sorry, I've got a bit of a summer cold here. Quicken my footsteps now, so that I may walk more certainly and quickly to you. And I accept the message you offer me to unify my practicing as I review the thoughts that you have given me.
Yeah, so it's a prayer to ask for guidance, to ask this awareness to guide us, and through these lessons and the central thought. There's one key idea that he repeats over and over in the next 10 review lessons, which he goes into now. So number 4.
Yeah. This is the thought which should precede the thoughts You'll have to excuse me. Unfortunately,
It's okay.
my
Need to get
throat's a
some
bit.
water.
I'd better, yeah, because it's getting very dry because I've had a sore throat the
Mm.
last couple of days. So I'll just go and get
Mm.
some water.
Yeah, no problem. Get some water and make sure you can speak properly. I'll read the paragraph if you like while you do that. So this is the thought which should precede the thoughts that we review. Each one only clarifies some aspect of this thought to help it be more meaningful, personal, true, and descriptive of the innocent capital self we share and now prepare to know again. God is only love, and therefore so am I. This self alone knows love. The self alone is perfectly consistent in its thoughts, knows its source, understands itself, is perfect in its knowledge and love, and never changes from its constant state of union with its source and its self. God is only love, and therefore so am I, is a very simple statement. It's only a few words, very simple sentence, but it's enormously profound. If you think that thought and you believe it, that's the end of the ego. If God is only love and therefore so am I, I'm uniting my awareness with love.
Yeah.
And when I do that, there's no room for any other kind of thought. So it's the merging of the Father and the Son, or the source and its extension, in this one center. And he reminds us of it over and over through these reviews. He's asking us to do it in the beginning and then in the middle of the two ideas, like I call it like a sandwich effect. It's like a triple decker sandwich. You get the God is love, then you get the filler of that, which is the first review lesson. Then you get God is love again, and therefore so am I. Then the second review lesson, and then the bottom of the sandwich, God is only love, and therefore so am I. So it kind of frames, it's the holder for the other ideas. And if you bear it in mind as you're contemplating the other ideas, then it helps to make those other ideas make more sense and gives them the framework and the context of the entire course, because really the entire course's thought system is included in that one sentence. God is only love, and therefore so am I. There's a non-dual. The only is important. God is only love. God is love, that's in the Bible. God is only love means that it's exclusive. There's nothing else but love. And therefore, so am I. It makes the explicit connection between you and love, or you and your source. And unites the Father with the Son, or the source and its extension, which is that one-ment. So very, very powerful sentence. And if you contemplate and dwell on it, it can take you into an awareness of that loving presence or awareness that you are, which is why he's asking us to remind ourselves of it frequently throughout the day. Okay, number 5.
Okay, I shall try and do it without croaking. And it is this that waits to meet me at the journey's end. Every step I take brings me a little nearer. If I keep in mind that this remains my goal, this review will shorten time immeasurably. And as I practice, I am approaching this. Let me raise my heart from belief in illusions to life, as I remember that this is what has been promised to me. And this course was given to open up the path of pure formless awareness to me and teach me, step by step, how to return to the eternal self I thought I lost.
Okay, thoughts on that?
Well, it's just letting us know that this is just a journey, and every step will bring us closer if we keep in mind the goal. So just keep practicing and approach this, and let's raise our heart. Let us raise our heart from belief in illusions to life, as I remember that this has been promised to me. It's been promised to us to go back to our inheritance of pure formless awareness, but it's step by step rather than just in one fell swoop. And this is how we will return back to our eternal self that we thought we lost.
So every step you take is, and by step, he means a thought and often words and actions. You know, either take you home back to the state of pure formless awareness, or they take you away from that. They take you into a state that denies pure formless awareness of any negative thought or emotion that you care to mention, whether it's sin or guilt, fear, anger, attack thoughts, sadness, jealousy, anger, frustration, depression, and so on. So every thought, every word, every action counts. It's a step going in a direction. And it's up to us to decide where we're going with each step we take. And obviously that's how you get to the journey's end. You just keep taking the steps. It's the journey of the rest of your apparent life here in this illusory world as human. Each step is taking you either to awakening, to the ultimate goal of pure formless awareness of perfect love, or it's going to take you in the opposite direction. It's going to take you more into a state of separation, and it's going to keep you away from that. And that's really worth remembering. You know, if we can remember that in our lives, it's so helpful. So, well, you know, where am I going? If I do this, and I think this thought, I speak these words, I take this action, which direction is it taking me? Am I going back home to a state of pure formless awareness of perfect love, or is this taking me in the opposite direction? And with that kind of awareness, then you have the Holy Spirit guiding you as to what to think, say, and do. It's when we lose that awareness and we forget that, okay, this is taking me in a direction. Then the ego comes in and we end up going in the wrong direction, and we're not even aware we're going in the wrong direction because the ego is telling us that this is all there is. And we forget that there's actually another direction that's opposite to the one we've taken. So it's like a deceptive guide which comes in, hijacks your journey and says, no, follow me. And it's going to take you off course and take you, in fact, in the opposite direction to what you want to go. And you have to be vigilant. The guide that you want to follow, the Holy Spirit, you have to be really vigilant for that, and invite it in. And the lessons and this particular sentence, or how you do that, God is only love and therefore so am I, invite in this eternal loving awareness. And by definition, they exclude any other awareness because God is only love. So by definition, this excludes or lets go of anything else that might happen to be in your awareness. And so then you bring your false awareness to the truth of this. I used it today in exactly, this way. You bring it to the truth of this, and you must then see the falsity of those other thoughts and emotions. And as soon as you see their falsity, you let them go. You don't believe in them anymore, and there's a natural letting go. And that process of seeing the falsity and letting go is what Yeshua calls forgiveness. So it's quite simple, but it requires this, high degree of awareness to become aware of those thoughts and emotions, and don't just let them hijack you, and bring them to the truth of this, this absolute truth of what this particular phrase is saying. Okay. Any other thoughts on number 5, or can we go on to number 6?
Yeah. Yeshua takes the journey with me, for he shares my doubts and fears a little while, so that I may go to him who recognizes the road by which all fears and doubts are overcome. We walk together. He must understand uncertainty and pain, although he knows they have no meaning. Yet an awakener must remain with those he teaches, understanding what they perceive, but still retaining in his mind the way that led him out of the dream, and now will lead me out with him. Perfect love's extension is crucified until walk along the road with him, until I walk along the road with him.
Okay, so what's he saying in that one?
Well, he's just saying if we walk alongside with Yeshua, then he will help us, with our doubts and our fears. And, if we walk together, then he'll understand all our pain and uncertainties. And he knows that they have no meaning, but he's there by our side.
Yeah, it's very comforting. It's saying he understands. He must understand. He couldn't help us if he didn't understand. He has to meet us where we are. Now imagine if he's coming just from pure formless awareness of perfect love. The course couldn't happen. He wouldn't be able to write a course like that, like he's written, would he? So be like, well, God is, and that's all there is, and just accept that. End of the introduction would be all that's necessary. Nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. But he has to meet us where we are. And he has to understand the doubts and the uncertainty and the difficulties of this human experience, and being really identified with the ego, and what that actually does to our minds, and how difficult it is to awaken from it. Because you've got to deny your own identity, what you thought of as you, in order to awaken spiritually. And he knows how absolutely difficult that is. And yet he's there, helping us every step of the way and guiding us very patiently, very kindly, very gently, with these teachings, with this encouragement, with the lessons, with the text. Say, yeah, look, you can do this. Just persist. This is something that is possible, but it's going to take a level of commitment and diligence that most of us haven't attained yet. We attain it by practicing and following the course. And he knows that. And okay, it's a process. So I'll help you walk the path. I'll help you in the process. And slowly but surely, you'll start to awaken through that process. And he's very patient and very gentle and very kind. There's no forcing of it. There's no like, oh, you're not getting it right. So, you're all useless and you're condemned. It's just, okay, I understand. It's difficult. So patience, patience, patience. And that's, what a good teacher does. Very, very patient, kind, gentle, loving, and saying, look, follow me and I'll help you. And if you fall away and you waver, I'm still there. I'm not going to lose faith in you and go, oh, well, you're just a useless student. Forget it. It doesn't matter how many times we fall and waver and lapse. He's always there. The truth is always there to help us to, get back on track, which is extremely encouraging and reassuring and comforting, isn't it? Okay, Elaine, still there?
Yes, oh yes.
Yeah. All right, so number 7, Yeshua's resurrection.
Yeshua's resurrection happens again each time he leads someone safely to the place at which the journey ends and is forgotten. He is renewed each time anyone learns there is a way out of misery and pain. He is reborn each time anyone's mind turns to the pure formless awareness in them and looks for Yeshua. He has forgotten no one, so I help him now to lead me back to where I began the journey, to make another choice with him. It's just talking about Yeshua's resurrection to lead
It's
us.
saying we are resurrected when he is resurrected, whenever someone awakens, when he leads someone to safely to the place at which the journey ends, and they fully accept the one for themselves, and all the pain and suffering of the ego is forgotten, then he resurrects again. You know, that's the resurrection, is awakening from the belief in death to life. Saying, well, this, the resurrection's happening every time you make a decision for the truth and for the Holy Spirit rather than for the ego. Then there's the resurrection again. Every time you decide for the ego, there's the crucifixion. And that's playing out in time all the time for every seemingly individual person on this planet. And what I find very encouraging is that he's forgotten no one.
Mm-hmm.
He's forgotten no one. So, we're not forgotten in heaven. I'm just going to show you. And then final sentence, he's saying, that I must follow Yeshua and he'll lead me back to the point at which the journey began to make another choice. So let's look at that in the descent into hell. He's essentially leading us back up the ladder from our belief in a victim identity, beliefs in limitation, lack, loneliness, suffering, inevitably death, a lot of accusation, blame, and attack, concept of a fearful, wrathful, vengeful God, false expectation of punishment appearing real based on the guilt and the sin of apparently destroying God or love in order to create a separate identity for ourselves. He is helping us to undo all of that and leading us back to the original choice where we said, oh, I'd like to be separate. I'd like a separate identity. And then we invented one. And then we went down the ladder of separation. And we ended up in hell as a victim of this apparently cruel world that we'd invented. And he's taking us back to that original point where we made the choice. We said, I want to be a separate self. And he's reminding us, and he's saying, well, by teaching us what the separation of the separate self is and what it does, he's helping us to make another choice. Say, no, I don't want that because it's a disaster. It's a train smash of epic proportions. I don't want this anymore. I see the pointlessness, the futility of it. I see the pain and the suffering that are inherent in this idea, and I just can't believe it anymore. And that's what he means by taking us back to the point where we made the original choice to separate, and now we have the choice to correct it and make another choice. So he leads us back to where I began the journey. So I decided to be a separate self, to make another choice with him, to make the choice once again with the guidance of the Holy Spirit to be one self. And that's what the Holy Spirit does. It says there's only really one self, there's only one of us, because there's only pure formless awareness of perfect love that underlies that one self. And so the ideas of guilt and sin and fear and attack and accusation and blame and complaint and everything else that goes with the ego cannot be true or real if there's only one self. And so we go back to the point of our original choice when we make another choice. Back when you get back up the ladder and you get to this idea of separation, you realize I made one mistake. It may seem like many, but actually I made one mistake eons ago. We think something like 14, 15 billion years ago, the Big Bang created the universe, but it could be longer. This could be, 10th incarnation of the universe. We don't know. But at some point, we decided to separate from our source. And that's the point of correction. Saying, if you can get back there and you can recognize the delusion of that it's false and that, it's only brought you pain, misery, suffering, and death, then you will make another choice. And then at that level, you're correcting your mind at the base, at the foundation of the ego's thought system, which is where it needs to be undone to really make a difference. And that's what he's doing with this course. He's leading us back up the ladder, confronting all of these false beliefs and seeing the falsity of them, letting them go. And by doing that, we come to the realization that choice of separation, original choice of being a separate self, is just a foolish choice. And in fact, it's not true, so we can let it go. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. So I'm going to read this in the original, and then you read an alternative. It's a bit to translate here. So number 8, release me as you practice once again the thoughts I brought to you from him who sees your bitter need and knows the answer God has given him.
I free everyone as I once again practice the thoughts he brought to me from the remembrance of perfect love that perceives my bitter need and knows the answer. Answer, pure formless awareness of perfect love has given it.
Together, we review these thoughts.
I review these thoughts with Yeshua as my guide and teacher.
Together, we devote our time and effort to.
Together, we devote our time and effort to them.
And together, we will teach them to our brothers.
And together, we will teach them to our companions.
God would not have heaven incomplete.
Pure formless awareness of perfect love does not want the state of pure formless awareness to be incomplete.
It waits for you as I do.
It waits for me as Yeshua does.
I am incomplete without your part in me.
Yeshua is incomplete without my part in him.
And as I am made whole, we go together to our ancient home, prepared for us before time was and kept unchanged by time, immaculate and safe, as it will be at last when time is done.
And as I become whole again, we go together to our ancient home, prepared for us before time was and kept unchanged by time, immaculate and safe, as it will be when time is over at last.
And from the top, an alternative.
I free everyone as I once again practice the thoughts he brought to me from the remembrance of perfect love that perceives my bitter need and knows the answer. Pure formless awareness of perfect love has given it. I review these thoughts with Yeshua as my guide and teacher. Together we devote our time and effort to them, and together we will teach them to our companions. Pure formless awareness of perfect love does not want the state of pure formless awareness to be incomplete. It waits for me as Yeshua does. Yeshua is incomplete without my part in him. And as I become whole again, we go together to our ancient home, prepared for us before time was and kept unchanged by time, immaculate and safe, as it will be when time is over at last.
Okay, thoughts on that?
But we can free everyone once we practice the thoughts brought to us by the remembrance of perfect love. So we review these thoughts with Yeshua as our main guide, and then we devote our time and effort to them. And so we will teach them to our companions, and it will wait for us as Yeshua does. So it's saying Yeshua is incomplete without our part.
So his own, he's working for his own at-one-ment, perfect at-one-ment, from beyond the veil of time and space. He's not physical anymore, but as long as any mind remains split and identified with the ego, his at-one-ment is not complete. So his process of at-one-ment is to bring everyone with him, be the leader of the at-one-ment, as he says, and bring everyone back into the oneness with him. And when that's finally complete, then his own at-one-ment will be complete. Until then, he remains as this gentle, wise, loving teacher, guide, to help all of us to join him in that at-one-ment. And he hasn't forgotten anyone. So it doesn't matter that someone may be completely uninterested in at-one-ment and may think Jesus doesn't exist, or he's a total fraud, or, and there's many, many such beliefs. It doesn't matter. He just waits. He says, well, if you want my help, I'll help you, knowing that we are alike, he says in the Course. But if you don't, I'll just wait until you change your mind. And he says, you will change your mind at some point, because at some point the illusion becomes too painful for everyone. And then you seek help. You look for a teacher, someone, something to help you out of your pain and misery and suffering. And we go together, we journey together to our ancient home, prepared for us before time was. So this existed before time was and kept unchanged by time. It's eternal, it's immaculate, it's safe, it's unchangeable, because it's beyond time. And nothing that's happened in time and space really affects it at all. So this remains unaffected by all of this, disastrous thought system and the descent into hell. Which is why we can return back to it, because it's still untouched, untainted, still pure, hence pure formless awareness of perfect love. If we look at it on the timeline, we see that it's above the timeline. Whatever goes on on the timeline, this presence transcends it. So this presence remains permanently there. It's eternal, no matter what seems to be happening on this seemingly linear timeline in time and space, which is very, very comforting. And that's what he's trying to do, is reassure us that this presence is always there. It's always with us, and we just have to turn to it. Okay, number 9. Read that in the alternative. Elaine, you still there?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah. Therefore, I let this review be my gift to Yeshua, for he needs only this, that I hear the words he speaks and give them to the world. I am his voice, his eyes, his feet, and his hands through which he awakens the world. The self from which he calls to me is just my own. We go together to this self. I take my companion's hand, for this is not a way I walk alone. In my companion, Yeshua walks with me, and I with him. Our source is aware that its extension is one with itself. Therefore, how can anything not be with me?
Not be one with me. So what's he
Yeah.
saying in this one? It's a very beautiful message.
Well, Jesus is our gift, and he's by our side, and we've got his voice, his eyes, his feet and hands, which will help us awaken in the world. So the self from which he calls is in us anyway. So we go together with this capital S self, and we take our companion's hand so that we don't walk alone and they don't. And Yeshua
It's a
walks
beautiful
along.
thought. You know,
Yeah.
so no matter what difficulties you have with your companions, you remind yourself that we're all on the same journey. We're all actually the same.
Yeah.
We all want love. We all want salvation. We're all looking for our source. We all seem to be alone, a little bit alone and afraid and bereft here. And people behave in strange ways when that's the case, which is why human behavior is so variable and often strange. But it's because we're all in the same boat. We're all seemingly separated from our source, trying to somehow make sense of what doesn't make sense. And the idea of separation, that we're a separate self. And we try and make that work. And every human being's trying to do that on some level. But on another level, there's a part of their mind that wants awakening from that wants salvation from that. And so this reminds us that actually everyone, their fundamental desire is to awaken. And we are walking with them, whether they know it or not, back to our source, back home. And if you can just remember that whenever you see anyone, that kind of dissolves any sense of separation, doesn't it? You just go, well, I might be feeling irritated or annoyed or whatever with that person, but actually, in truth, we're all on the same journey. And that person is in the same boat as me, and they're one with me. And so how can I see them as separate? So how can anything not be one with me? If our source is aware that its extension is one with itself. So the original is our Father wills his Son be one with him. Translated, our source is aware that its extension is one with itself. So it's speaking more of awareness than will or desire. It just is. This is the awareness of the source, that every part of this awareness is one with itself. And we are naturally part of that awareness. When we join our awareness with its awareness, then we become aware of that we are all joined. Therefore, how can anything not be one with me? Everything is, what he's speaking about here is the unity consciousness that is inevitable when you fully awaken. It's been described by all the masters and mystics throughout history. Okay, so I'll read the original, you read the alternative. So let this review become a time in which we share a new experience for you. Yet one is old as time and older still. Hallowed your name, your glory undefiled forever, and your wholeness now complete as God established it. You, sorry, I'm reading it all. So
Yes. Right. So I'll just and so I let this review become a time in which I share a new experience for me, yet one as old as time and even older than that. I welcome its presence. My magnificence is undefiled forever. And I think you got it too. And my holiness is now complete. This pure formless awareness of perfect love establishes it.
Your wholeness now complete as God established it. You are his son, completing his extension in your own.
I am its extension, completing its extension in my own.
We practice but an ancient truth we knew before illusion seemed to claim the world.
I only practice an ancient truth I knew before illusion seemed to claim the world.
And we remind the world that it's free of all illusions every time we say, God is but love, and therefore so am I. Elaine, there?
Oh, yeah. Where am I?
Number 7.
And I remind the world that it is free of all illusions every time I say, God is only love, and therefore so am I.
And then he just gives us, so any thoughts on that paragraph?
It's just welcoming the presence of this, our true self, which is undefiled and whole, and it's where we're meant to be, to leave the illusion behind and claim the world as it really is.
Remind the world it's free.
Free of all these
So
illusions.
these words are so powerful because they contain the whole truth. When you say God is only love and therefore so am I, you are stating the absolute truth, the non-dual truth in those simple words in one sentence. And if you fully understood that and lived it, you would be enlightened. Now, that's how powerful each one of these ideas is. Of course, the ego is still there. We don't necessarily get it straight away, but he's saying, well, if you don't get it, keep practicing it. Repeat the idea over and over, because you just never know when it might drop in and suddenly it's like, aha, I'm starting to get it because I'm experiencing more of what it's pointing to. And that's what he's trying to bring us to, as he'll explain here, more experiential understanding and knowing ultimately. Okay, so number 11.
I start each day of this review with this. I start and end each period of practice time with this. And I sleep with this thought to waken once again with these same words upon my lips to greet another day. I surround every thought that I review with this idea and use these thoughts to bring into my true awareness and keep it clearly in my awareness throughout the day. And so when I have finished this review, I will have recognized the words I speak are true. It's just giving us some practice for each day and to repeat this statement over and over and just, surround every thought around the review.
It's like the wrapper. I talked about the sandwich effect or a wrapper. It's what underlies it all. This one simple statement is a statement of absolute truth. So every idea you start to see in these reviews how it's a complete thought system, that all of the ideas agree with each other and they tie together in this thought system of the Holy Spirit. And so you start to see that it's cohesive, that it makes sense, that it is a replacement for your current thought system that actually makes sense and doesn't have all these internal contradictions and nasty side effects that we suffer over and over with the ego. And here in the last one, he points us to more of an experiential knowing and understanding, more of a mystic experience. So read that.
Yeah. Yet the words are only aids to be used except at the beginning and the end of practice periods. to remind my mind of its purpose when I need to. I have faith in the experience that comes from practice, not the means I use. I wait for the experience and recognize that conviction lies only here. I use the words and try again to go beyond to their meaning, which is far beyond their sound. This sound grows dim and disappears as I approach the source of meaning. It is here that I find rest.
So thoughts on that?
Just going beyond the words. They're just pointers, aids to lead us to this pure formless awareness. So the practice periods are to remind the mind of the purpose that it was intended for.
It is here I find rest. So he's trying to take us beyond words. And the words just are pointers. You use these brief words. There's 3 sentences essentially. You use that to start experiencing the peace of pure formless awareness and perfect love that lies beyond it. And so, as we advance in the course, and especially in the second part, which we get to in about 2 months, becomes much more experiential. It's about short key messages. So maybe just read the. You're probably getting tired now, so we won't read the summary. Or if you want to read the summary, just read it, and then we won't discuss it. And then the lesson is very short, so we can just practice that. Do you want to read the summary?
The key message, could I read? Because I am very tired. I'm sort of, right. This introduction explores my spiritual journey towards self-realization and unity with pure formless awareness of perfect love, guided by Yeshua's teachings. It emphasizes the power of regular practice of these lessons, my role in spreading perfect loving awareness, and the significance of the overriding idea of these review lessons, that God is only love, and therefore so am I, leading me towards the state of perfect peace.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fair summary, I think, of what he said. Really just encouraged us to keep on practicing, keep persevering, keep trying, as that rock that I found on the beach I mentioned. Just keep trying, keep chipping away at it, and you're bound to succeed. Okay, so that brings us to the lesson, which is very short. There's just 3 key ideas. So if you read those, just maybe reflect on each one.
God is but love, and therefore so am I. Or God is only love, and therefore so am I. It just says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's so straightforward. I mean, it's very, very simple. God is only love, and the only is but love, but I've made it only. That's a really important. That's apart from love. That's probably the most important word in that sentence. It's only love. It makes it exclusive. God is only love implies that there's nothing else, and therefore so am I. And that only means that anything other than love that comes into your mind is not true. It's not who you are. Therefore, you must let it go. So any idea brought to this idea, any false idea brought to this true idea, must then be exposed as false, and you will naturally then let it go. because you will see the falsity of it. And that's the whole practice. That's what he's asking us to do. Okay, so then the first review idea, the original and the alternative, please.
All things are echoes of the voice for God, or everything is an echo of the voice for perfect loving awareness.
So you mentioned, you got that call today, which just reminded you of the truth.
Yes.
And this is what he's referring to. It's an echo. That phone call you got that just helped you correct your mindset is an echo of the voice for perfect loving awareness. And so it's not abstract and, some kind of abstract echo which has no practical application. Actually, very, very practical. We get these echoes coming into our life as beneficent, synchronistic, what we call miraculous in Course terms, events that help us to correct and help us to stay on track. And that's what he's referring to in this lesson. Everything actually is an echo. It's like a reflection of this perfect loving awareness. And that's true because underlying every aspect of the apparent separation, there must still be the truth of this pure awareness that pre-existed it. It's still there, but it's just in the background. So it's not obvious to most people. So it's sitting in the background. And our job is to bring it into the foreground as spiritual practitioners, to bring what's been hidden and obscured and is in the background into the foreground of our awareness and relegate what has been in the foreground, the ego and its interpretations of this world, into the background. And that's what forgiveness does. It brings the background into the foreground and moves what has been dominant in our awareness into the background. And so the echo becomes louder and louder, and the echo starts to become the only thing we hear. And then we disregard the ego's voice. It starts drowning out the ego's voice as the ego's voice has drowned out it. So it's like, which voice will you listen to? Which voice will you allow to be the dominant one? Okay, and then he wants us to read in between, again, God is by love. So read it again, and therefore so am I, in the original and alternative.
God is love, and therefore so am I. God is only love, and therefore so am I. And that's a good note to leave on, isn't it?
Yeah, just one more. This is a second review idea. The power of decision is my own.
Oh, the power of decision is my own, and God is but love, and therefore so am I. And God is only love, and therefore so am I.
So that power of decision is the power to decide again. So if I've decided against love, I can make another choice and I can decide for love, and I can let go of what I've previously valued and allowed to, overcome and overshadow this love. I can make another decision. And salvation or awakening. God is only love, and therefore so am I. So that brings us to the end of the session. Thanks to Elaine for joining, and I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, then do hit the subscribe button to be notified whenever I go live, which is typically 3 or 4 times a week. I've just been on holiday the last week, but as of tomorrow, it'll be 3 or 4 times a week. And you can also check out lifebull.com if you'd like to get sent some of the material I shared with you on an email. And sorry, in a Telegram message. You can get the daily quotes, the commentary that I've done on that, the lesson for the day from A Course in Miracles, along with a short mini meditation or breath break to help you practice it throughout the day. And you'll be notified about these live sessions and be given the link to join them in Zoom. So check it out, lifepool.com, and put in your details there. And yeah, we'll hope to catch you on the inside soon. So thanks for watching and listening. And namaste, which means the love, the divine love, the unconditional love, that divine loving awareness in me honors that same unconditionally loving awareness in you, because we are one. Wishing you much love, peace, and joy in that awareness.